Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to say that there are a lot of things that I really like about the JL, including the wheelbase, the approach angle, departure angle, but this video is the 9 things that I dislike. Hey guys, Matt here with BleepinJeep, everything off-road, none of the boring stuff. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We do off-road related content. So the wife and I have been living with the JL now for about 8 months as her daily driver, and in this video I want to go over the 9 things that I dislike about the JL, starting with number 9 and working our way up to number 1. Number 9, the cooling fan in this thing is an absolute beast. It's all electric and I'm sure it does great for cooling the motor. But you're not going to stand around at the mall having a lot of shop talk by the JL because it's just way too noisy. Can you hear me now? The fan is variable speed and only really gets noisy in the summertime when it's hot. So that's why it's number 9 low on the list and not really a deal breaker for me. We've been having some rain showers recently and I think another one's about to start. And that brings me to number 8. Even a light drizzle can sound like a hurricane inside the Jeep JL. You kind of get used to it after a while, but if you buy this thing for your unsuspecting wife, then it's a little crazy at first and takes some getting used to. It's a downpour out there. Oh! It's a little leaky. Add this to the list. Number 7. The windshield glass broke within the first month that we owned the Jeep, and I hear I'm not the only one with this problem. It seems the JL could have a pregnant bug hit the windscreen and break it. Number 6. Hey honey, I got the groceries! I think number 6 speaks for itself. The Commander we had at least had a little tray in the back to keep this from happening. Number 5. There's a few things on the new Jeep JL that just seem a little, well, to be honest, cheap. And for a vehicle that costs about $40,000 to $45,000 MSRP for a non-Rubicon version, you'd think that you'd get a little bit more. It just seems like these little things are going to fall apart and wear out over time. Let me show you what I mean. Now check it out right here. Now Jeep has done a lot of work on the JL since the JK was prone to leaking, and they've revised quite a bit of it. But look how thin this little piece is. How long do you think that's going to last? But what I'm more concerned about are these little pieces of foam that seem to be all over the vehicle, and they're just stuck on with some like self-adhesive tape. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. I mean, you guys know how foam deteriorates very, very quickly, and it's everywhere. Now there's more foam right here under the hood, and I assume that's to keep the hood from vibrating like they had with an issue on the JL when you're on the highway and pass an 18-wheeler, but that just doesn't seem like it's going to last very long. Another place they've saved some money is the hood latch right here. It's very difficult to figure out at first. And it's actually very sharp. There's no actual place to put your finger or press against. You just kind of have to press against the metal of the latch. I know I'm being picky, but it seems like they would at least make a flat spot for you to rest your finger on when you go to push that open. Now this is the strangest thing. They decided to put some sticky taped felt on the seat belts as an afterthought, I believe, to keep it from scratching or who knows what. But it's coming off on both sides. It just was an afterthought, not thought through well. Really no purpose in that whatsoever. Another item I'm not too sure about is the seat. You would think that you'd pull this lever to lean it back, but that's actually a pump that moves your seat up or down. To lean the seat back, you pull this cord, which is kind of weird. Not sure about that. But check out this seat belt. I'm sure it meets safety standards, but that just seems a little strange to me to have this piece here. Now on the back glass here, check this out. There's this little tiny water seal that comes up with the glass. But look how thin it is. I'm sure it seals great, but how long do you think that thing is going to last? Not to mention, it seals up against this tape on the door, and it's already starting to peel off, and the Jeep is only a few months old. So how long will these little pieces of rubber and foam last? I really have no idea, but I do hope that Jeep has a plan for us to be able to buy these and replace them when they start to fail. Speaking of little plastic and foam pieces, check this out. This is the back seat, and this is where the handle used to be to fold it down. It's completely broken off, and that happened about 1 month in. So we can't fold the seat down at all, and it's pretty annoying whenever you need to fit something big back here. To group into this category, I'd like to add this. There's already a growing list of YouTube videos showing you how to fix this problem with some foam that you just kind of shove down in here. But on the fenders of these Jeeps, there's a huge issue with getting little tiny rocks and pebbles and debris caught in here, and there's no way to get them out except for one by one with a little sharp object. And even then, I'm kind of regretting that I just threw those in there, because I'll never get all that out, and it's going to scratch the paint. Now you may say, I'll never get rocks in there. That's kind of silly, but mud has little tiny rocks all in it. So when you go to wash the mud out, all that's going to be left in there is those little tiny rocks. Those are the ones I couldn't get. They're still down there. So number 4, I'm going to put down as overall comfort. I don't like to use the lower lumbar support on my back. It doesn't feel right to me, but in the back of the seat up high, it almost feels like there is an unadjustable support. There's no bar right there, but the seat actually gets harder right here, and it feels like there's something poking me in my upper back. So I have to admit, I am used to driving a Tundra as my daily driver, and I'm used to putting my elbow up here on the window and then putting my hand on the steering wheel right here. In the JL, I feel a little bit cramped. There's just not enough room to drive like I would prefer. Now I realize that the JL is not supposed to be roomy and spacious, but you have to look at who's buying these. A lot of soccer moms are replacing their vehicles with the new Jeep JL because of the creature comforts, but space is not one of them. Now there's also no dead pedal, so whenever I go to adjust myself in the seat, I have nothing to push against, which is a little bit of a bummer. It's also still embarrassing for me to go through the drive-thru because I'm always looking for the window down buttons over here, but they're over here underneath the radio, which is a little strange and hard to get accustomed to. Number 3 is excessive blow-by at steep angles. So this to me seems to be a super common issue on the 3.6 liter motors in the JK and the JL. And I have no idea why this happens, but at steep angles there seems to be a blow-by issue where oil is going back into the intake and then blowing out the exhaust. The only thing that I can come up with is that this crankcase vent is at the back of the motor for some reason, and when you're at a super steep angle, it pushes oil up right back into the intake. If that's the case, I'm not sure, but it really should not be happening, especially on a newer motor. Now, I've seen this with my own eyes. I've seen it lock up a new Jeep JL motor, completely hydrolock the thing down until it was taken back to the dealership and fixed. I'll leave video right here. Like I said, it seems to be common on the JKs too, and the only common denominator here is the 3.6 liter motor. So this is a non-issue if you're going to be just going to the mall here and there, but for a serious off-roader, you're going to have to do something about this. Number 2, uncomfortable steering. Alright, first of all, there's some sort of electronic update that you can update the vehicle, and that will affect how the vehicle steers. What? We'll get more into that on number 1. So the second issue I have with the steering is that it's a little too close to the door. I can barely get my hand in here, but I'm going to also overlay a video of side by side the JL Wrangler versus the Tundra, which is my daily driver. So my wife says she's gotten used to it, but I feel when I drive the JL that after a long drive on the highway, I'm tired and exhausted. Just little tiny inputs at highway speed take a lot of force to get this thing centered in the lane. Not only that, but you have to continually give it inputs, left, right, and you seem to just keep on doing that over and over and over all the way down the highway. Hopefully you guys can see that in this video. But I don't know what is going on with the steering, but there seems to be some online, on the forums, and on YouTube videos, some major issues that people have with the steering. I'm not sure if it's because people are buying the JLs thinking that they're going to drive like their cars that they're used to, or what, but there seems to be mounting evidence that something is wrong with the steering. What it is, we have yet to determine. And finally, number 1, too much electronic mumbo jumbo. What do I mean by that? Let's break it down into 7 different bullet points. Number 1A, you have to update the radio and the Jeep with updates, just like you would on your cell phone. Can you imagine if my 70-year-old dad owned this Jeep and something wasn't working right, and I said, "Oh yeah, Dad, you just have to install the latest update." He would literally drive this thing straight off a cliff. Speaking of which, I haven't figured out yet how to update it. Where did I put my list? My list is gone. 1B. This is the key to start the car. It's a key without a key. I can set it up here and start the vehicle with the push button. What's wrong with that, you may ask? Well, I'm sure you can use your imagination, but let's do a little scenario. Let's say I'm dropping my wife off at the airport. She has the key in her purse. We go to the airport. She gets out of the car with the key in her purse. I'm going to throw the key out the window. Now, let's go for a little test drive. How far do you think we can go? Well, I'll tell you how far we can go. We can go forever until the Jeep runs out of gas or I turn the car off. When I turn the car off, I am dead in the water. So I could go 300 miles, maybe 400 miles away. Maybe I'm taking a little road trip. Maybe I'm going home. I don't know. But if I stop to get gas, turn the car off, I am stuck. Alright, so now my wife's in Europe. I'm driving and I've reached my destination. I turn the car off, which I'm not going to do because then I would be completely stranded. So I'm sure you can see how this could turn out disastrous. Now, an even simpler scenario might be my wife is going to work and for some reason I happen to have the key in my pocket. I go to kiss her goodbye at the window. She starts the car. I have the key in my pocket. She goes to work and unbeknownst to her, she has no key. She shuts the car off and lo and behold, I have to come save the day because she doesn't have the key in the vehicle. So you can see how this might happen time and time again because you don't need a key to drive the vehicle. You only have to have it to start it. If I were Jeep, even though you don't have to have the key in the ignition to start and drive the vehicle, I would at least have a place to put the key, a specified spot where you can see it and know that it's there, and when it's not there, you know that you have a problem. Even a little magnet or something would do, and you just click it right to the magnet. That's all it needs to be. Now that I've opened the door, it tells me the key fob has left the vehicle. It's a little late now. Let me turn it off. Try to start it again. There you go. Key fob not detected. Number 1C. I've just disconnected the negative battery terminal and check this out. I still have 12.6 volts. That's kind of scary to me. So the Jeep JL has 2 batteries, one of which is very hidden underneath this fuse panel and a couple other things down here. So if you don't know what you're doing, you disconnect the negative battery like you normally would to work on the vehicle. You can still electrocute yourself or short out a system if you don't know how to disconnect that second battery. Number 1D, the auto start stop feature. If you don't know what this is, it shuts the vehicle off automatically every time you stop at a stoplight. And yes, you can push this button right here to turn it off, but that's really annoying. You can also permanently disable it by doing some sneaky things as well. But I realize it's mandated by the government, but it's just so silly that thinking turning off your vehicle is going to save any gas every time you come to a stoplight, not to mention all the wear and tear it's putting on the starter. But also it shuts off the AC every time it turns off at a stoplight. So it starts to get very, very warm in the summertime every time it stops. Number 1E, this is the seatbelt auto park feature thingamabobber. So let me explain how this works. If you're in drive and you don't have your seatbelt on and you open up the door, your vehicle goes into park automatically. A lot of people say, well, just wear your seatbelt, dummy. I'm a stickler for wearing my seatbelt. I always do, but this has happened twice to me. So one scenario may be you're about to go, you're like, oh crap, my seatbelt is stuck in the door. Oh, dang it. I just went into park. Another scenario, you're like just trying to dodge that double parked moron back behind you, so you stick your head out to see what the heck's going on. All of a sudden, you're in park. It disables itself in 4 low, not in 4 high though. So where I can see this becoming a problem too is if you're at a really steep angle off-road, you take your seatbelt off for whatever reason to get out and winch maybe, and you all know that once you take your seatbelt off and you're at an angle, it becomes locked. You can't get the seatbelt back in. All of a sudden the vehicle doesn't know what's happening. You got the doors open, you got your seatbelt off, it's going into park. I've seen some really crazy issue with that. We don't really know what was going on, but it had to be taken to the dealer to get it fixed. I think the computers just got totally out of whack and didn't know what was happening. Computers, man. And that leads me to 1F. So there's no physical connection between the transmission and this shifter. This shifter is just telling the transmission electronically what to shift into. And this Jeep JL that I keep mentioning that had all these problems off-road, we think maybe that the computer got confused as to which selection that it was in, and that was one of the many problems that was causing some major problems. 1G, because everything on the Jeep JL is computer-controlled Gizmo technology, you pretty much have to take it to the dealership to have anything serviced, unless you are a Gizmit wizard, which I am not. Is this by design? Does Jeep not want you messing with your own vehicle? That's for you to decide. So my question to you is, of those things I just listed, what do you find most annoying about the Jeep JL, and did I miss anything? Leave your answers down in the comments box below. Now don't get me wrong guys, there's plenty of things I love, and that I will save for the next video. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Did that get you?
I'm done. It's all over my car. I have milk on this. Oh my gosh, it's everywhere, man. Yeah, you're watching it.